Welcome to this week's edition of Coach Prep. Coach Don and I are here in the Cherokee Batting Range podcast studio getting ready to record episode number 91. Today we're going to talk about the concept of teaching them how to learn rather than just teaching them the skills of the game. Before we do that, let's talk about our sponsors, the Anderson Bat Company. Everything Fastpitch is very proud to have Anderson Bat Company as our presenting sponsor. Anderson Bat Company is using the latest and greatest bat technology to corner the market in the fast-pitch world. They have the -9 Rocket Tech, the -10 Carbon, and the -11 Carbon Light. Anderson Bat Company is using this technology to put a high-performing bat in the hands of hitters that really know the difference between a good bat and a great bat. We're also working with Anderson to provide a discount for all of our listeners. Go to the Anderson Bat Company website and order your bats. Use the EFP20 discount, which is for everything Fastpitch, and you'll get a 20% discount. It's a great way for you to save a little bit of money on a great bat and also help support Everything Fastpitch at the same time. And let's talk about patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. If you're in a position to become a patron, Coach Don and I would really appreciate your support. There's 3 different levels of financial support that you can give us. Does all that we need to keep things moving forward. We have a lot of expenses, a lot of different things that we're invested in to try to do as good a job as we possibly can with the podcasts, and our patrons are rock stars. They're doing a great job. The family that we have of patrons supporting us are great, and we really do appreciate it, and we would love to add you to that group. So if you can, go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. So Don, one of the things I think that happens in this game is we get so wrapped up in teaching players skills that we kind of turn the process of becoming a better player into this almost mechanical, robotic, I say this, you do that, I say this other thing, you do this other thing kind of approach. And I think that one of the things that's really missing for us as coaches, especially in our game, is helping kids become better at learning, helping kids become better at understanding what's going on so that they can make adjustments and make adaptations for themselves. So instead of them always relying on us to have all the answers, that they start to go looking for some of the solutions on their own.
No, I like that idea, Tori. I know being a student of the game, being able to adapt, because like you say, from one pitch to the next, there's different things that are happening, and it's kind of like a chess match going back and forth. People are making adjustments in how we're pitching a batter, and then the batter's making adjustments in where we're at in the batter's box and their timing, and it's a back and forth battle. And if we are just very robotic or very working on one plane, then I don't think that we're growing or becoming as good a player as we can. So I think that's a great plan and idea, Tori.
Yeah, well, I think there's different ways that we can go about doing this. Once upon a time, everybody who got into coaching got into teaching because it was the path of least resistance, right? Once upon a time, if you really wanted to get into coaching, most of us wanted to coach whatever sport it was at the high school level.
Sure.
And reality of that was, if we wanted to teach at the school level, we had to be able to teach. For me, my undergrad is in secondary education. My master's is in curriculum and instruction. So I've had a chance to have some classes and have some background in my education about different learning styles, different ways that kids process information, things that work and things that don't work. And unfortunately, what I think is kind of an epidemic in the game of softball is that we've gotten away from understanding how kids learn and replaced that with, I'm just going to tell you what to do and hope that you can repeat it. What ends up happening then is when the rubber meets the road, when something doesn't go according to script, we have an awful lot of players who have no
turning their head, looking
they have
at
no
you like...
chance, they have no opportunity, they have no ability to understand what's happening and to develop any kind of strategy for themselves. And so one of the things I tell hitters the very first time that I work with them, is that what we're trying to do is to help them learn how to help themselves, to be more aware of what they're doing, to be a deeper level of understanding about what your body's doing, what that means for how things are happening in your swing. And so instead of it being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the result, that they understand that every step along the way there's nuance and there's flexibility and there's different, as you said, adjustments that need to be made that are going to allow them to either have success or not. And so the idea of helping them become problem solvers, letting them have more of a say in trying to come up with solutions. And there will be times in lessons that, I will have a player who struggles with something and I offer no cure at all. I don't offer any kind of suggestion for a little bit and say, well, what do you think?
Yeah. How did that
yeah,
feel?
yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think about the result of that swing? Well, I didn't like it. I didn't, I popped up, or I was, weak, or I missed it. What do you think the solution is?
Right.
And let them, try to work through it and try to problem solve for themselves. And what ends up happening is with many of them, probably as quickly or almost as quickly as I could give them the solution, they're starting to think of ways to approach it to solve it themselves. To me, I think that's the secret in this game
That's
that's
the end
missing.
game
That's
for us.
what we're
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
From a hitting instructor perspective, it's easy because I know that 99% of the kids that I work with, when they leave the lesson, I'm not going to be able to be at their games or at enough of their games to really have any kind of impact on what's happening on game day. So I need them to leave with a knowledge base and understanding of what's going on so that they can help themselves, so that they can process the problem that they see in front of them and have an opportunity to solve it. And I think if we use hitting as a way to kind of get them thinking about, well, that felt weak. Well, that felt, my timing was off. Well, I'm popping the ball up every time. So that they start to see the problem and then start to think for themselves for potential solutions. I think we're doing them a much better service, more successful long-term player than just, always standing there at the ready to have the answers for them.
So, and I like that, Tori. And a lot of times when we're training, we're encouraging them to make little adjustments. Let's see what happens if we shorten our stance a little bit. Let's see what happens if we bring our hands in a little bit closer, change the angles of our barrel before we launch. And if they're able to do that in practice, then they know what kind of results they should get from making that adjustment in the game. Because every pitcher is a little different and every scenario is a little different. We're a little more fatigued or tired at the end of a tournament than we are as we are fresh in the beginning. They know what all those little adjustments are going to give them. Then they're able to think on their own and to be a student of the movement and apply different adjustments as that at bat or as that day goes on. So we want for them to be that aware of all those pieces. And if we only do things one way all the time, just like you said, a robot, then they're not going to be able to apply any of those little fine-tuned details,
Right.
In the heat of battle.
Well, and the other thing that I think if we can use one part of the game to get them to start to think about being problem solvers and start to think about, learning from what's happening around them so that they can make adjustments and they can become better players, it sort of starts the momentum moving forward. If they see that they can help themselves as hitters and they can learn how to make an adjustment, then they can connect that to something that's maybe happening on defense, maybe something that's happening when they're pitching, something that's happening within their team. And so instead of being that person that's always looking for somebody else to give them the answer, they're looking to find the solution themselves. And we spend a lot of time talking about how this game or other sports are ways for kids to kind of set themselves up for being successful in life. Well, we know that for the vast majority of us, when we're out there in the workforce, when we're out there trying to run our own business, stuff happens every day that we just don't know what the heck's going on.
You got to be able to make it up on the fly.
Yeah, and you can throw your hands up and say, well, nobody told me what to do, and just give up, or you can start to work on solving the problem, and whether it's, how to become a better hitter, how to become a better pitcher, how to do a better job of fielding a ground ball or not, the ability and the confidence that you gain in being able to help yourself and to be able to encourage the players around you to solve problems for themselves, I think is a really important thing, and I think it gets lost. Because when I watch most teams, here's what I see. I'll see a team that's got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 coaches, and when a player makes a mistake, it's almost like a race to see what coach can get to them first to be the one to give them the solution. Right. Sometimes it's almost like a tag team event. Like, we both get there at the same time and we have to take turns trying to solve the problem. And in a lot of cases, I think we're doing more to confuse a player than we would if we just let them alone, let them have some time to think about it. And so when I'm at games, one of the things I try to do is to always give players time after an at bat to process it for themselves, to think it through for themselves, and then maybe come back later and ask a question about, how did that feel? Well, and what do you think you're going to try next time?
Right.
What's your adjustment going to be? not judge it, not give them the thumbs up or the thumbs
answer.
down,
Yeah.
but to just let them see how it plays out. And if that works and they've learned something for themselves, it's going to encourage them to keep trying to do it. If I give them the answer and it doesn't solve the problem, guess what ends up happening?
Then you're not.
They haven't gotten any better, and it's my fault because I couldn't give them the right solution.
Sure.
Versus them understanding that what the problem that we're trying to solve doesn't necessarily have a right or a wrong answer.
Or one answer.
Or only one answer. And that somewhere along that continuum is where the solution probably is going to lie. And the more involved they are in solving it, the better the solution is going to probably end up being ultimately. So coaches, let's stop thinking about it like we have to be the end all be all of knowledge. Let's stop thinking about it's our job to always tell them what to do to fix a problem. And let's start to give them some space to work through some things on their own, to make a mistake and try to process it and try to answer it for themselves. And then we can always come back and debrief afterwards. We can always, give them a little bit of room and then come back and try to give some encouragement or some quality control. But let's stop being in this dead sprint to the player who just made an error to tell her what she did wrong and what she's going to do next time to make it better.
Say helicoptering over them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not going to get us the long-term results that we want. Obviously, when a player learns something for themselves, it sticks with them. We don't want it to feel like they're cramming for a test. 30 seconds after the test is over, they've forgotten everything.
Sure.
We want it to be something that's a lot more organic and more ingrained in them. So teach our players how to learn and how to think for themselves, not just the skills of doing it, but the process of understanding what they're doing so they can do it better. So Don, anything else for 91?
No, it's a good message there, Tori. I like it.
All right, so check out our sponsors, Anderson Bat Company. Please check out patreon.com. If you have suggestions, comments, questions, or ideas, contact us at everythingfastpitch@gmail.com or fastpitchprep@gmail.com. So for Coach Don McKinley and our producer, Stan Lewis, this is Coach Tori saying thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.